Welcome to Mic'd and Medicated. We are so excited to have Jaime Knopman on the program with us. And
the program sounds like we're on PBS.
Program.
A doctor on Mr. Rogers today.
But Jaime is a doctor, I think actually an endocrinologist. Initially.
Reproductive endocrinologist is the official term. Yeah.
Great. And Caroline and I are so excited to talk to you because you have a new book out.
It's called, by the way, Own Your Fertility, From Egg Freezing to Surrogacy, How to Take Charge of Your Body and Your Future.
I've been calling it just Own Your Fertility because I keep forgetting the second half. I'll be like to my co-author, I'm like, wait, what's the second half of the book called again? I'm like, I need you to screenshot the book.
It's a long title for ADD too. I'm like, what is that?
I'm like, it's Own Your Fertility. Yeah.
And we should give a shout out to Rebecca Feuerstein, who is both Jaime and my dear friend who co-authored the book. But I think we're so excited to talk about this notion of planning for your personal life, because I feel like women are very encouraged to plan for their professional journey and to think about, you know, what they want from their career and goals for how to succeed in business or whatever their passion is. But I'm speaking for myself, where nobody ever said to me anything about eggs and that eggs have a shelf life.
Mm-hmm.
And I always knew, though, it's like, you don't want to make an omelet with old eggs. If they're expired, right? It's just not going to taste as good. Frozen, they might be good.
By the way, I feel like my kids will be like, Mom, the eggs have expired. And my husband's like, eggs don't expire.
Well, then I guess but he did have kids young. But, you know, I do agree. Most women, no one talks about how to plan for your personal life, because I know you mentioned in some of your articles, and I'm sure your book, that I think your peak fertility is like 22.
So our peak fertility is in our 20s. And I think most of us don't recognize that there was a new study that came out last week that showed, you know, we used to call 35 the cliff, and people used to say, oh, when I'm 35, it's geriatric, et cetera, et cetera. That's false, because it's actually a gradual decline. But this new study showed that there's actually a big turning point at 32. So the quality of your eggs are going down pretty rapidly, and we just don't know it.
Wow. That is I'm glad I have my two kids, because I would be like freaking out a little bit. But see, I always knew that. And I guess the lucky part was I didn't know that age requirement. I just kind of always had my grandma. I had all 4 kids before I was 30. You know, like that's all she cared about is, when are you getting married? And so there wasn't a lot of career focus there. I also didn't know what I wanted to do, but I did know I wanted to be a mom. Yeah. And I think, wanted to be a doctor very early. Did you personally know that you wanted to have kids, or like, how did you?
I think I was like a lot of people, where I just assumed I would have children. I think for many of us, fertility just seems like inevitable, right? You sort of just think like, oh, I will have kids at some point. But that's the problem. I think when it doesn't work, or when things go awry, you're like, wait a second, this is so weird. I was just assuming I was fertile. I always knew I wanted to be a doctor. Like, it happened at a very young age, and it was just sort of very linear from there. I thought I wanted to be a mom, but I just assumed it would happen.
See, I actually, ironically, dreamed about getting married, having children, being a homemaker. And
you're definitely not a good homemaker.
And it's only because I met my husband very young, but because we met so young, it was an 8.5-year relationship before we got engaged. And it was only because of that I pursued my career. It was like by accident, just like I was doing it.
How do you accidentally go to Harvard Business School? I don't understand.
Okay, that's the wrong way to say it. But I guess like I didn't think those things were inevitable. Those were my goals, but it was like almost, you didn't really talk about those kinds of goals. You talked about career goals. And I, went to college with a lot of high achieving women who were talking about what they wanted to do with their lives. And many of them also got married very young, had kids young. So even though I got married at 28 and had my first child at 32, I was one of the last of my college cohort, or, middle to end of my college cohort. Yet in New York City, I'll never forget that when my husband and I started kindergarten, we were the youngest parents in the entire grade. So it's like, I do feel like this is more a city phenomenon, but I guess
it's kind of more, I think it's more than just New York City. You could tell
I think it's metropolitan areas in general.
Yeah, city versus
even
country.
countries now, like Asia, like in Asia, like Japan or like South Korea, they don't have the average age of first birth there is like 33, 34. Like it's really changed. And because of this, the total fertility rates in a lot of countries have dropped significantly, such that they're like afraid they won't be able to sustain the population. So for example, in South Korea, they're giving you egg freezing for free because they want people to have children because they won't know what to do with their economy if people don't.
But isn't it such a disservice to women? Like your message is plan now, freeze your eggs so that as you're pursuing your career, you don't necessarily have to, you're increasing the odds that when you're ready to have kids, you'll be able to. But why aren't we also promoting the idea that biologically your eggs are at their peak likely when your body and your frame of mind and your energy is also at its peak to have children?
I think our first message is education, right? I think we have to get away from people coming into my office I said last week, I saw a 49-year-old who said, I'm ready to pull my IUD and try and get pregnant. I'm like,
what?
Wait, what? Like I was, and like,
okay, that person's been living under a rock.
But you would be surprised at 49? How many 40, like mid 40-year-olds are thinking, oh, hi, now I think I would like to have a baby.
Do they have a partner?
I'm thinking, where have you been? Like, what is going on? But I think there's a lot of misinformation. So we need to educate the younger generation about what will happen. Yes, the quality is better, but if you're building, most people are building their careers really in their 20s and 30s. So if they stop to have a child and raise a child, it's less likely that they'll get back into the game wherever they were, law school, med school, et cetera, and be comparable to the women that stayed there the whole time.
So how do we make it, how do we change society where there's this period of time where and it's so hard, obviously women, you financially, people can't just, look for their partner and not work so hard, but just how do we change the mindset of if you're a 23-year-old analyst and you're a female at a bank, like you need to say no to your boss and go on a date. If you want, but I'm being honest.
But like, if you're an analyst at a bank, chances are you're going to marry a VP at that bank, and then you're going to retire and live
I don't think that's true.
Ever after.
I think a lot of women are not told. They're told, okay, you're 22. You're thinking you're so young. I mean, we have such arrested development. Kids are still living at home at 22. Used to own a home. That has
changed too.
By 28.
Now I agree with you. But of our generation, I know so many women who were in finance, but sort of off-ramped when they had kids, and so many people, it was like the best place to be young and single because that's I don't think a stat that majority of people meet their spouse at work because that's where you spend 90% of your time, and that's also where you see people kind of like in their zone, being their best, like doing things they're skilled at. So
I would believe that because you're more attracted to somebody when they're high functioning, right? When they're doing something as opposed to like at their lowest, you may be like, well, I don't know.
And I also think conversely, like you were saying, I agree. Now we have this issue where there's sort of this, arrested development, and you see these people in their 20s still living at home, not being able to get jobs or working remotely and not growing because they don't have mentorship. But that also, I think, correlates with the people not being together because that's where you meet. I think you meet people out in the world, and people are now sitting at home on devices, remote work.
Yeah.
Or
we saw that when we did research for the book is like, why were women having children later? Even the dating culture, right? People are always on their phone now. Like there's swipe left, swipe right, this, that. So there's so many, it's almost like you don't have to commit, right? You're like, no, we'll move on. And so I think people they don't meet people in the same way that we used to, which leads to not having children in the same way. Also, when you're talking about living at home, people living at home, like taking care of their aging parents, report they're less likely to have children while they're taking care of their aging parent. So they may put off pregnancy because they're like, I'm taking care of my mom. I can't go ahead and.
But if you're 25, you shouldn't be taking care of your mom.
Right. Like if anything, that supports have kids young because your grandparents should be helping the mom take care of the kids, not the mom can't have kids because she's helping her mom.
But let's say you're like, you've waited until you're 38, let's say you're late 30s, and then your mom had you, so like.
Yeah, no, of course.
It's like it's a snowball effect. It goes on.
I know. So how do we, I guess.
Isn't that kind of what we're saying though? That like, that's problematic. And so we're trying to like fix these problems by using science rather than maybe getting back to the basics of how family structure has worked historically.
Right. And
she wants to be June Cleaver.
I mean,
Fuck Harvard Business School. You want an MRS degree.
I also believe in division of labor. And I think in some ways, like I'm sure there were plenty of women who were unfulfilled and, miserable. But, when both people in the marriage want the exact same, like they have the same level of drive, ambition, want the same things, it does make it harder than to be a partnership.
That's probably true, right? Because they always say it's better to marry someone who's unlike you than exactly like you, right? It makes the marriage function, I guess, or stay longer. But I do think that if both people are super career educated and pushing, it may make it more challenging to stop and pause and have children.
Right. It's almost easier, I find, to do it. I had kids really young in New York City. I didn't, I was 28 when I had my son. And like, so I was very young at kindergarten. I have a third grader, but, it was definitely something like my husband would have waited longer even because we were young. And I was like, you never know how long it's going to take you. Yeah. But there was also downsides. He was less established in his career. He knew he was going to be traveling a lot at that point. But like, I figured that was a better sacrifice to take because I'm never going to be this age again.
Yeah. I mean, it also, I did a transfer last week on a woman who had my exact birthday, like same day, same year. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't imagine having a newborn now. I'm
oh my God.
I'm in my late 40s, so
right.
I think about that too. I'm like, have we allowed it to go too far? Right. Where like,
right, isn't that unhealthy for the mom?
It's actually not. The data shows it really yes, your pregnancy complications go up as you age, diabetes, high blood pressure, C-section, et cetera. But you can transfer embryos into women's uteruses or uteri until really the age of 54 is what the American Society. Yeah. So
now, does the maternal age have an effect on the embryo, even if the embryo, let's say, was from her when she was 30?
No, it doesn't.
It does. So the there can't be a genetic mutation when it's implanted?
No. Now your uterus has been through more, right? I say to women, like, we have higher rates of GYN pathology, fibroids, adenomyosis, endometriosis as we get older, but it doesn't mean that an embryo won't implant and grow and, deliver a healthy baby.
But then you're a 54-year-old mom, and the energy to take care of a baby and then I'm 51. I have a seventh grader who's 12, and I will be one of probably the oldest parents.
Yes.
Actually, in New York City, I won't be one of the oldest, but I have a lot of friends who are becoming empty nesters.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I'm very curious. You wrote an article about how you want to be able to give your daughter the gift of freezing her eggs at 22. So make the case for us as to why that is a smart decision versus letting her kind of biological clock anxiety start to motivate her to find a partner and have babies.
I say that because I think then you're removing, like, we have so much anxiety about so many things in life. I mean, I have anxiety about getting here on time, right? Like,
well, we did screw up.
Crossing the park here or there? I'm like yelling at the guy, but
do not worry. We screwed up.
No, but I'm saying, like, if again, people will criticize, like, as a parent, we try and step in and fix every problem and we should let our kids, and that develops resilience. But if I know that by freezing their eggs at 22, I can remove a lot of the stress and anxiety around fertility, why wouldn't I do it? Right. I'm not saying that that I have two girls. So I'm not saying they have to use their eggs, that they'll be parents, that they'll have kids with a man or a woman, who knows. Right. But I just know that they have like a little bit of comfort. And if I can provide that.
Is that for you feel more than them?
I think it's both, right? It's like, what do they say? The cobblers, they have no shoes.
Well, that's what's interesting. Yeah. Usually the shoe cobbler doesn't have shoes. So I'm surprised you're thinking about that.
Well, because I've seen so many stories go the wrong way. I've sat with so many women that were like, I wish I would have known this. So if I know this, I can do everything I can't prevent that, that they'll have infertility or that they'll have problems, but I can reduce the chance of that. We joked around about this. When Rebecca and I wrote the book, like, your kids aren't going to brush their teeth on their own when they're 2, 3, 4 years old. You tell them to do it because they're preventing getting a cavity, right? Like, I don't know what will happen to them over time, but I know that they are more likely to have reduced egg quality and quantity. So if I can remove that, why not?
No, I mean, I do think it's really smart.
That makes a ton of sense. What about for your hypothetical son? I have 2 sons.
Yeah.
knowing that the egg is one half of it, knowing that the sperm also creates issues. I worked with a gentleman he was actually the chief medical officer at my biotech company, and he obviously thought he had a lot of great DNA because he had 3 wives and 6 children, but his 6th child he had at the age of 69,
right?
And his child was a dwarf.
Yeah.
Can you use the word dwarf? What's the right word? Midget? Or
midget?
You can't. No, you can't say midget.
No, I think
there was a medical term.
Small
for
person.
Short stature.
No,
I think
it was a
small
long,
person.
weird name. It sounded like paraplegic, but it wasn't paraplegic.
There's like limb dystrophy syndrome, but actually, I think I'm allowed to say dwarfism, but that's a dominant disease, right? Meaning
that's not about age.
Well, no, it is. So
it's about
men,
sperm age, but that's why I'm asking, like, is there something parallel for men to be worrying about? Because men, I feel like, do not have this problem.
They don't think they have this problem.
Not only do they not think they have this problem, but there's almost like an assumed, the older you are, like
you're like fine wine.
Not even that, but like it's cool to not settle down young.
Well, sperm does decrease, but it doesn't take a hit the same way that eggs do, because you make sperm every day of your life, right? Like you never make new eggs. So men will constantly produce sperm. Now, there is something called advanced paternal age, right? Like we talked about advanced maternal age. But what that is very debatable, right? Some people say 45, some say 50, some say 55. We know that older men are more likely to have children with autism, right?
That's what I was telling you, and ADHD and all that stuff.
Schizophrenia and dominant conditions. But it doesn't mean that every man who has a kid above the age of 50 is, it's correlated to have a higher risk.
So maybe we should all start telling people. I mean, it's not like we need home ec back in school, but there has to be some way to just reestablish, an old way of thinking about things, because otherwise we're going to have population problems, or maybe we're going to fuck up our kids more.
We're there because we just don't have as many kids anymore either.
Who could afford to have so many kids anyway?
The total fertility rate, even in the US, is declined. Not as significant as Asian countries, but it's still gone down.
Actually, like population growth is a sign of a vibrant, productive society. And the only country in the world that's still growing its population is Israel. And America used to be one of those. America used to be one of those countries that was growing, and now we are on the decline. And I wonder, like, you see so many patients, you probably have a much better insight into this, but it does seem, based on the articles I read and the few young women I speak to, that like as much as in our generation, it was priority to go out and build a career and then get married, or I wouldn't even say that was the priority in my generation, but it almost feels now like I don't even need a man. Like I'm not even looking to get married.
Single mother by choice has gone up dramatically.
But it's really hard to be a single mom.
But it's also like, I have to say that those are some of my favorite patients because it's so like badass. Like, I'm like, yeah, you do that. Like you decide, I want to have a baby. I haven't met somebody, so I'm just going to do it. You're right. Yeah. It's very hard to be a single parent because think about like
you have to be the breadwinner. Exactly.
And coverage. Like you don't have a backstop, but like
it's better than not doing it.
Right. But getting back to population growth and you know what the issue that China has with like, is their economy going to be stagnant because they don't have enough people to buy the goods? It's probably much harder, I would argue exponentially harder for a single mom to have 2, 3, 4 children.
Definitely.
So I guess like we need to decide as a society, like, do we support and embrace marriage as a project? Do we want people to have, you know, children? And is that how we are going to prosper or not? Because I do feel like, to your point about home ec, like that's a dirty word now, probably, because back in the day that was teaching women to sew and cook. And
I kind of wish I had some of these.
Oh, I had home ec in middle school. I'll never forget. Like, this is an amazing story. So you know how the cake thing, you know, like when you make a cake, the bottom of the cake. So because I didn't have home ec.
Bundt cake. Yes.
So my mom never cooked. I didn't know.
I have a Jewish
so
mom.
they hand me someone hands it to me and I go like this and it goes all over the place. Like all the batter comes out.
Oh my God.
You gave me a broken tray. And I will you
didn't realize there was a hole in it?
No idea. I'd never seen that in my whole life.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
I was like, I got the worst grade in home ec. And I got like pretty good grades growing up. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so mad at that teacher. Like whatever. But yeah, I couldn't do any of them.
See, but like,
hilarious.
I don't have real life skills. Like I
don't either.
I know.
I can't.
They should
I
do for men too.
Boil water for pasta.
I don't even know what temperature how to make it. Is it? Do I wait till it's very bubbly or not bubbly? I have to Google it. I can't put a light bulb. I could not do a light bulb.
Gosh, I love it. Exactly.
My husband's always like, he's like, what did you do growing up? I'm like, I did a lot of studying.
Right.
And I think that was pretty much it. Like
I really can't even do my laundry correctly.
I know. When I first had to do it in med school, everything was pink. I was like, oh, you're supposed to separate those? I was like, I missed that. Yeah.
No, I think it's probably our parents' fault.
Yeah. No, I do. And I'm doing the same thing to my daughters, right? Because
my kids are fucking spoiled. Yeah.
And you like pick up after them. And I'm like,
terrible.
I think if I would have told them rather, it's like if you give a man a fish, right?
Right. Teach a man to fish. Yeah.
Yeah,
but and I've tried. Even my husband, I've said this. My psychotherapist said to get a basketball hoop hamper because it's like very motivating for men.
Yeah,
they'll throw it in. I never got it, but I'll let you know. They don't. But his mom obviously picked up after him.
I mean, do your kids my kids throw like? I'm like, why?
I try. I'll tell them to, and my daughter will give me a look, and my son will reluctantly do it.
I just said to them, I'm like, guys, sweaters don't go in the wash. They're like, what do you mean? You wear it and then I'm like.
No, that's like a dry clean thing, or you wash it.
Do you
like
know how
every
many sweaters we've ruined because my housekeeper will clean a piece of clothing if it's on the floor, and I keep having to explain, like, if you leave a cashmere or wool sweater on the floor, it's going to get washed, it's going to shrink.
Right. Yes. My husband does not. He puts everything in the laundry, and my daughter actually knows. My son, my kids do know. They care about clothing. They'll be like, "You can't do that." Not my daughter. My son will be like, Dad, no, that sweater can't go in.
Yeah. I mean, all right. But I blame my parents because I'm like, I don't think you guys taught me anything.
I don't think my parents can do their own laundry well. That's the other problem. But like, we do need a class about, okay, this is how you balance a checkbook. I think they did teach me that when I was at Spence.
But what I'm saying is, and couldn't
make
agree
a bun
more.
Cake or make a hard boiled fucking egg, man. Can they just teach us how to do that?
I don't know how to
Can
do
you make
that.
I go to Pret. I don't know.
See, you can't make a hard boiled egg, and you have a medical degree.
And I have like a picture of eggs when you walk into my apartment because my whole life has been based on eggs. Yeah, actually, it's so funny. One of my daughters, when her friend got her period, and she was like sort of upset, and my daughter was on the phone with her. She goes, "I mean, it's so good. Now we know you have eggs."
That's really funny.
I was like,
do you know why there's like that Ashkenazi Jewish tradition where you're
supposed to slap someone,
you slap your head? Do you know what that?
No, do you know?
I think it's to protect evil from like
when you get your first period, like
or to protect you so you do get pregnant. But it is a Jewish thing, so I think at a young age, it's like I knew that I could do whatever I wanted professionally, but like my grandmas, my mom, like they wanted me to make babies.
So interesting.
I never felt that.
I didn't feel that either. I definitely felt marry Jewish, raise your kids Jewish, but
it was marry Jewish, but he should think Yiddish, dress British.
Oh, they told you that?
Yeah, my mom.
Fascinating.
I've never heard that statement.
Oh, that's David Brooks. It's such a good one. Back to this, because where you were going with the home ec, which I appreciate, is just I don't feel like it's natural. I feel like mother-daughter conversations are, you can be anything you want to be. You can do anything you want to do. I have all those like the dangerous books for girls, or all these books that I read to my daughter about, badass women. Superman. No, badass women who have done, amazing things. And it's not common, or maybe that's why you wrote the book, to have these conversations about like there are limits, and you have to be thinking about your, fertility if you want to have a family.
Like a lot of women, I always ask the question when I see egg freezing, and even patients with infertility, like, how old was your mom when she had menopause? And they're like, I have no idea.
Oh, yeah, no one talks about menopause.
So I'm like, oh, that's helpful, because if your mom had an early menopause, it may mean that you might have an early menopause. I have now started to see a lot more mother-daughter combos coming in for egg freezing, and I like love it because it's such it's like a really nice vibe. And then we talk about the mom's fertility in front of the daughter. Like, did you have infertility? If so, like, what kind of treatment did you do? Did you have an early menopause? Like, what happened? It's important to talk about it.
No, it is true. We had this great woman on who wrote a book about millennial menopause, because no one talks about that. I have a feeling IVF was sort of used to be like that. Like, I think now it's becoming much more spoken
menopause,
about.
I remember when my mom went through menopause, because she would be screaming at us to like open and close the window. I was like, what is wrong?
But it was like 10 years. My mom was kind of bitchy for 10 years.
I was like, oh my God. And nobody gave them hormones, right? Because the WHI was like, no. Now our generation, we're all talking about it. We talk about hormone replacement.
Well, thank you to you guys.
No, I think again, like I don't like to say women doctors are so much better than male doctors, but female physicians, we have aged. And so because we did, we talk about menopause, right? Like if you think about it now, more than 50% of med school applicants are women. But that really changed like during my era. So now we're all going into menopause. So we talk about it all the time.
I mean, like my two most important doctors, I would say, are my OB and I had thyroid issues. So I have an endocrinologist, both women.
I think we and again, I'm going to sound sexist, but I think women
you can be sexist, that's fine.
We're more empathetic, right? And we do listen a bit more than men. So I think that has really changed the dynamic of medicine a lot. I really do.
That is true. I think their bedside manner is probably
better. There was
better.
that big study in JAMA that said patients operated on by female surgeons did better. And they didn't think it was that our surgical skills were necessarily better than surgical skills of men. It was post-operatively, we addressed complications faster and listened.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that does make it. I mean, look, this is the other thing. It's like we need women to, I hate Sheryl Sandberg, drives me nuts, but some women to at least lean in their professional lives enough so we can get these kinds of advancements, like doctors who are really, spearheading menopause and talking about hormone replacement therapy, et cetera. But we also want people to have kids earlier and raise families. So it's like, how the hell do we do this all?
Well, it's like people are always like, oh, how do you do it all? Like
you don't.
You can't. That's a BS.
That's why I don't like Sheryl Sandberg, because if you lean in, you got to have so much help, or you got to admit it. It's impossible to do it all.
Because everything we do, and even like I got the first copy of our book yesterday, and my girls were reading the acknowledgments, and Charlie, my older daughter, was like, oh, Mom, I love how you talked about the team when you write a book. And I was like, yeah, because everything you do in life is really a team sport. Me being a doctor, writing a book, running a functional household, like nobody does it on their own. And if you don't accept that, then like it doesn't work.
But then that's why I'm going to go back to, we've been talking so much about women and educating women and mother-daughters coming in. But like at the end of the day, you don't make a baby alone, or at least historically you never did. And the team was you and your husband. And so this also does raise a bunch of interesting questions. If I'm freezing my eggs, which I actually wasn't sure I agreed with you when I saw the headline of your article, but now I do agree, because it's just like giving more flexibility. It's just trying to create more opportunity. And
it's like, why would you run barefoot if you could run with great sneakers?
Or offset like any downside risk, mitigate downside risk.
It just gives you more choice, right? Like it's in this, we're always scared to say the word choice, because then people assume we're talking about like terminations. But I always have said egg freezing is like reproductive autonomy and choice, just in a slightly different way, because then you choose what your body does rather than your body choosing it.
Right. But then we're having this conversation. It almost reminds me like at work when we were trying to advance the woman's cause, and like we were doing it on our own, but half or more of the people in the workplace were men. So we weren't going to succeed without getting the men engaged. And so you almost like the education has to be for men too, because all of a sudden it's like the men, like, how does that work then? You just say to, somebody you're dating, I froze my eggs. What are the implications of that? What are the implications of, the fact that we have this biological clock? Like if men, sort of have this luxury of thinking like, I can play the field, I can wait, I want to be, my husband wasn't eager to have kids right after we got married, because
you need a tough woman who says what she needs.
I want to be financially, he said, I want to be financially secure before. So we were together 4 years married before we had kids, because he wasn't ready. I would have done it right away. But I do think like men have to be part of the conversation too. And I love this notion women can have everything, just not at the same time.
Yep.
But it's almost like, why are we prioritizing the way of like have a career and then have a family versus have a family and then have a career? Or I don't know. I wonder if
I do think men need to learn as well, right? Because we can't assume that they're just going to know. I have to say, in my career, I've had so many women freeze their eggs like while they're dating new partners and say, at the end of the day, it was the best thing ever, because then he or she realized that I wanted to have kids and that was a priority, and I was not going to wait around. Like I was taking my future into my hands, and I found that attractive, which I'm like, yeah, that's actually true.
Oh, I love that.
And if they weren't attracted, then they were the wrong guy.
Exactly. Like if you were like, I don't like that you're doing this, you're like, okay, then I guess we're not right.
Do people freeze embryos too?
Not if you're dating.
They do, but yeah. So you have to be sure that the individual you're freezing with is somebody you do think you'll have children with, because you can't use the embryo without the
their
like
consent.
authority consent of the other person.
Like they own not own it. But
right. I mean, I'm guessing married couples do that, but then I'm sure there are situations where people, tell me.
There's like, I have looked back at my own stats. 70% of the time, partnered couples or partnered people will freeze embryos. 30% of the time they'll freeze eggs. Because
really?
If they're sitting there, like, I mean, you guys don't know me that well, but I'm sort of blunt. I will call my female patient after and be like, I don't think you should make embryos with him. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to be like mean, but like, he does not want to have kids. Like,
wow.
And like, I think if you do that, you're going to hurt.
You're not getting the opportunity or advantage.
Because then if the relationship falls apart, when the kid thing becomes like on the table, you don't even have your eggs, right? So at least you'll have some eggs if he doesn't go the same way that you want them to.
That reminds me when we were just recently interviewing a divorce lawyer, Jill Spielberg, and she was like so big on prenups. And we were both like, oh, but isn't that not romantic? And she's like, no, because you're going to know like really early on what this person's situation is, what they feel about it. Like she had a couple.
And I think sometimes there's fear to get like, you don't want to actually look at what's there. Right. So if that person's like, I don't think I'm gonna have kids with you. And you're like, okay, let's make embryos. Like you're just kicking the can down the road. And it's going to really
That's why you're going to be 40 and single.
Correct. So you might as well. It's like a lot of things in our life. Like think about how many things you're like, oh no, that's whatever. And then you wake up and you're like, oh, I saw those signs a long time.
You don't want to see
I'm
not like that.
You're not like that. But I think because you are in a good way, I think like emotionally transparent and demanding about what you need.
I was very like, I think
but that's self-confidence, and that's a good quality to have.
I think we need to teach women that.
I think a lot of women are like, thank you, please, I'm sorry, it's my fault. Like I say to my older daughter, if you say I'm sorry one more time, I'm gonna kill you. Like, what are you sorry for?
Oh my God, can't we just be feminine but also be tough? Like I don't understand.
It's funny you say that. We took an exercise class yesterday and the instructor put her arm up as part of the move and hit the wall, and I was like, I'm sorry. And I was like, why am I sorry? I'm not even near her. I'm not in control of her body or the wall. Like, why did I just say I'm sorry?
Because we're sort of programmed. It's like this.
Men don't say sorry ever, even a fight.
Miscarriages are like, I know I did something. I'm like, why do you think you did something? You didn't do anything. Like, it's not your fault. Like, we shoulder a lot of guilt and blame, but we need to come in and be like, hey, I want to have kids, and like that's important to me. And if you don't want that, I'll see you later.
So I think that's like where this conversation has to go for women, and how do we do that? And like, we can help, maybe we can come up with some course, but it's like, it's literally telling women your life is in your hands also. It's not, you can't control the man that just shows up, but like you need to be clear when you're young. Cause when you're 40 and you're scary to men. When you're single and 38, 39, they're like, fuck, she wants to have kids. I'm not ready. Like, do you want to be that person, or do you want to meet them earlier? Like, when I met my husband and I was 24, and a year after we started dating, we spoke, and I was like, okay, what's your intentions with me? It's like, what?
But that's very badass. And a lot of women would not do that. But that's why when I say, if you freeze eggs, you feel a bit more confident. If you're like, okay, I have 20 eggs frozen. I'm 28. If this guy doesn't want to marry me or doesn't want to take the next step, like, screw you. Like, I'm good. True. I'm going to move away. You're
not going to make a rushed decision.
Yeah, because now at least you're like, okay, well, I didn't want to end my relationship at 28 with this person because I thought he was the one or she was the one. But at least I have 20 eggs that should give me a baby should I need to use them.
It's so funny because I guess I could play both sides of it. Because on the one hand, if I'm 28 and in a relationship, my clock is ticking, and if I have the eggs, I can feel more confident to play out the relationship.
Still get out of a bad relationship.
No, to play out the relationship and, not make a rash decision. But the flip side is that clock ticking is actually motivating me to get out of a relationship or to at least make the demands Caroline made, because I know I only have a limited window where if I have 20 eggs, maybe I'm a little more relaxed. Like, I can work another 5 years before I really think about
you still have
someone.
You still have to do it. You're going to be old. You're going to be exhausted. I'm not old, and I'm fucking tired.
But that's what I'm saying, because you just said something like, women, you have control of this. And I'm actually saying you have to accept to some extent that you cannot plan for this.
No, we're saying the same thing. You have control in your communication, is my point. You don't have control of your biological clock, but you can say to someone you're dating who's like wasting your time, be like, hey, look, I'm 27. You might think I'm like a spring chicken, but like my eggs are actually,
but also,
I want to have kids.
If you don't, like, I will see couples where like they'll come back year after year and I'm like, he's still not ready.
He's
like,
never going to be ready.
I think I'll freeze some more eggs. And I'm like, okay, the writing is on the wall. I'm like, he's never going to be ready. He's going to continue to dangle that in front of you.
So you see that a lot.
Oh yeah.
It's like shit or get off the pot.
But I do think, yes, 1,000%. So
women
I guess,
don't ask for that.
I guess we're all saying
because they're
that,
afraid.
Right.
They're afraid.
And I kind of feel
you're going to be afraid when you're 39 and single.
But I guess what I'm saying is freezing the eggs is like this sort of false insurance policy that's not real. So it's like this false sense of security because you can't plan for the unplanned. And what's actually 100% not within our control is like who we fall in love with. If that guy wants to fall back in love with us, get married, have kids. And so I agree with Caroline. You have to be very communicative about what you want, even at the risk of scaring someone off.
Because then they're not the right person.
But I am conflicted that on the one hand, freezing the eggs, I love the idea of taking some of that stress out and increasing the odds that when you're ready, you will have viable, healthy eggs. But the flip side is
you should like not, it should be like a little bit in your brain. You know what I'm saying? Like,
cause I always say eggs are not a guarantee, but like you get into a car and you put a seatbelt on because you're like, well, I'm less likely to get horribly injured.
You can still get killed.
You could exactly, but you're less likely to get killed if you're wearing the seatbelt.
Yeah.
Same thing with the eggs. You're less likely to have your fertility, quote unquote, killed if you froze your eggs. They may not work, but we see it. So I have this amazing case. She texted me yesterday because her surrogate delivered. And I was like, we have to go public with your story. She froze. She was like in finance and then wanted to leave, go to med school. But she was already like in her 30s. Her mom had early menopause. So she came in to freeze eggs. Her egg quantity was very low. We did 4 or 5 rounds of egg freezing to get a total of 10 eggs.
That's not that many.
Isn't that many, but like she was very happy. She goes on to become an orthopedic resident. And actually women in medicine have the highest rates of infertility, and orthopedic residents who are women have the highest rates within
because they
medicine.
don't sleep probably, right?
And because they're very like their jobs are very physical, ortho in the OR. So long story long, she meets this guy. He's like 15 years her junior in medical school, falls in love and is like, let's thaw the eggs. So we thaw our eggs. She gets one good embryo.
Chills.
And she's like, I'm going to use a carrier because I'm afraid because my job is so demanding. So she finds this lovely carrier. And her carrier delivered yesterday.
Oh my God.
Her OB let her participate in the delivery.
Oh my
because
God.
she's like, oh,
I
you did OB
literally
in
have
med
chills.
school. Oh, it was amazing. I was like, oh, she was like,
that could be a movie.
I remember.
That's amazing.
But
You're like, I have chills. You're like an angel.
But that was so cool because she was like, okay, like I think I will meet someone one day. I haven't met them yet. And I know that my journey is so long being a doctor. And it was really, I don't even know how we got to that. But
see, woman that's the balance. Amazing.
See, Eva, that's the balance that I think we're trying to send to women is like, here's your power that you can kind of have some insurance, but you still have to advocate for yourself and you still have to be smart about your decisions. You can't just be like, I froze my eggs and then party and do whatever you want till you're 37.
Or not be vocal. Like she met this guy. He's significant. He must be, I think he's 13 or 12 or 13 years younger than her. She was very upfront with him. She's like, I want a baby. Like, if you don't want to have children, then this is not the right relationship.
Are they married or not
they're
married?
Yeah.
Oh,
but women are so afraid. And I meet like I meet people who are, in their late 30s and single. And then they look at me and they think I'm annoying because I'm 37 and I've had 2 kids. And meanwhile, they're way more established in their professional life. And I kind of was trying to figure it out. But it's a lot more of like a pity party versus like, because they didn't take initiative.
Well, that's
or
why
didn't look for the signs.
The egg freeze patients were in their in their 40s and like late 30s. And it was almost like desperation. And now women do it in their 20s and it's like empowerment, right? It's totally changed the conversation because they're like, oh, I think I want kids, but I'm not like sure. So I'm just going to do this versus like, I don't know what else to do.
It's probably easier for their body. They don't get it so affected by the hormones and
the cycle is shorter. They're on less meds. They do it one time. When you freeze in your late 30s, you may do it 4 times to get to a good number.
I love this. And I actually think the other kind of selling point is by doing this young, you're starting the conversation. So like that becomes the prompt to be thinking about, oh, my eggs have a shelf life. Oh, I'm freezing my eggs because I want children. Oh, I then have that as a conversation starter to make sure the guy I'm with wants children. Yep. So I kind of feel like it is in some ways, like most efficient way to education.
Wow, that was a whole change, 180.
I love it.
We persuaded her.
Well, we really did. But I also think I know it's probably easier when you're 22 than 30 something, but you do see that it's not easy. Like whether you're taking a lot of hormones or this, like your body does
100%.
undergo something.
I can't, I wanted to call the book Wear Sunscreen and Freeze Your Eggs, which the publisher
I love that.
It's a chapter title, but and I get it. Like you put sunscreen on and that is not like freezing your eggs, but
it's kind of the same thing.
It's preventative.
You don't want to look old and wrinkly.
Well, I wish
or skin cancer.
My daughter's always like, the UV index is 8. Let's get out there. I'm like, guys, do you see all the stuff I have to do to my face now?
But that's the thing. You don't look long term when you're young.
No, I did. I think it was, maybe I have a great mom in that sense. She took the fun out of a lot of stuff. She took the fun out of the sun.
Amazing. Like
she was like, no sun. No, my friends were like this. She was like, and forget your career, you'll figure it out, but you find the right husband. So I loved getting tan. She was like, just not your face and not your neck. I'm like, so I'm going to go back to New York and have tan arms.
I wish I
and
had
it's 40 degrees out.
I agree. I was like, my mom used, the silver thing, like back in my mom's
baby
generation,
oil.
Yeah, exactly. So
thank you, Mom, for making me anxious.
I love it. And whoever your publisher is, that would have been a great title.
I was all into it. I was like, guys, I know the title. And then they're like, yes, but no. I'm like, wait, really? I love that.
Wait, I have a question. It's about egg freezing, but it's different. Okay. So what if you have kids, but you're like a little bit unsure of whether you should have another one? But like so I'm at the place now, like I don't want to have another. My husband doesn't want to have another. We have 2 kids. But I'm like, what if in 5 years, I'm like, I wish I had a third. Like, would someone like me at 37 freeze their eggs or embryos or no?
I mean, we see also women going through divorce who come in and they say like, listen, I have 1 or 2 children, but I'm getting a divorce. Maybe with my next partner, when I find that person, we might want kids. So let me freeze eggs just in case. It's not a bad idea if you want to keep the option open. It's less so, I see it less so in partnered couples who come in.
Because like, I feel like we would feel weird having these like embryos that we didn't use. Do you know what I mean? I think I would feel better knowing I had them, but I think it would be kind of weird.
I mean, that's like the debate, right? People are like, are embryos like what, we go in the middle of the country, people say embryos are
No,
children,
I don't believe,
right?
I would just feel, I wouldn't want to wait, like not use them, like versus obviously I think you could donate them to science and there's a million
Most
things
people will donate unused embryos to research, right? Because I would
that
say like that's how we push forward the field of medicine. But it does give you optionality if you're like, oh wait, our youngest is 10 and we really want a baby. There you go.
I know, but I don't want to do that. It's much easier for guys to do that.
And I hated pregnancy with every
ounce
of my being.
Me too. So it's like, what am I gonna do? This is my baby now, Mic'd and Medicated. I'll get more dogs. I can't do it. I was a miserable bitch.
I loved it, and I really wanted a 4th, or I thought I did. And
you want to be my surrogate?
And I would say to Doug,
"Can you imagine?"
I'd be happy to. I actually
is she
offered.
Too old? She's 51.
I have a friend who.
She wouldn't pass.
You could be my surrogate.
I know, but I have a friend who went through several IVFs in the hopes of having a second child. And I offered to her that I'd be happy to carry her baby. I remember telling Doug that one day. He's like, don't you think you should talk to me before you offer to be a surrogate?
Kind of, yeah.
But he was like, absolutely not. Like, you can have another child with your next husband.
Oh, yeah, no.
Meaning he wasn't interested.
That's the thing. It's like, do I want another one? No. My husband's like, no. I'm like, okay, great.
Well, yeah, usually the one who cares more decides.
And
I like, don't really want it.
Do you want a baby or do you want like a child? Right? Because people are like, oh, the baby's so cute.
Neither, I guess.
But then you have to raise them. And all
right.
that.
It's too complicated.
Right. Like I love being pregnant. I love nursing. But then you have another child.
I was like, oh God, when is this going to end?
It was horrible.
I know. I felt so guilty. I really struggled because I was a fertility doctor, right? And here I hated pregnancy.
I know. You do feel
and people
guilty.
would be like, oh my God, you're so lucky. And I'm like, oh my God.
Because you probably didn't have a lot of issues getting pregnant.
I didn't.
That's why you
were grateful because you knew and you saw every day.
I did.
It's still fucking hard being pregnant. Don't worry. I felt hard.
I hated feeling limited. Like I would be like, oh my God, like I'm running so slow or I can't do this. I'm so tired. Like I hated feeling like my body was.
Or I had to check, like, could I take this Tylenol or this? Right. I felt like I had no control for my body.
Yeah. But people feel very differently. But like, even like, when you're pregnant, people are like, touch your.
I'm
like,
don't touch me.
Wait, why is somebody touching? Like, I'm like, wait, am I supposed to be okay with this?
Like if you wouldn't do it if I wasn't pregnant, don't do it pregnant. Like, don't touch me. Don't comment on my body.
But like, that's a big, right? Like in our society, people come up to pregnant women all the time and they're like,
I loved it. I was growing a person inside me. It was a miracle.
So annoying, but I love you so much. It is a miracle.
I also love when people touch my belly.
No. The only thing I liked being pregnant was just getting a foot massage. Except no. And they're like, don't touch these parts. You're going to induce labor.
You're gonna go
Let me tell you, it doesn't fucking work. When I was like 39 weeks pregnant, I was like, you do touch them all the points. Nothing worked except getting induced. So that's bullshit. But anyway, I think before we wrap up, do you have any other last questions, Eva? Or do you have anything you want to share with our audience?
I mean, I think we covered a lot of it. It was good.
We did. I think we need a cooking lesson.
I'm hopeless. I am
egg
hopeless.
cooking.
But even like I'm bad at like all of those domestic skills, like everything.
I can like vacuum and stuff. Make a bed.
I don't mind vacuuming.
Me too.
Actually.
I like
feel
cleaning.
Like that is very therapeutic because there was dirt and then there's no dirt.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I agree.
Making the bed. No, I fight with my husband about this all the time. Because I'm like, why do you make the bed? We're gonna sleep in it. He's like, no, that's horrible.
I love making a bed. They say that's the first thing. Like
you feel good.
There's a general who does a whole YouTube video on this, but like making your bed gives you that sense of accomplishment. And if you do it when you wake up, it's like you've already started your day.
You're probably right.
But you are right about you're supposed to actually air your sheets out.
My son says,
which is actually true. So you're right. You could tell your husband
that. Did your kids ever make their bed?
No, and I'm the bad mom that I should tell them that. Then when I make it, like on the days I don't have a housekeeper, my son will be like, you know how to do that? Like, do you really have that low expectations of my skills?
But think about when they go to sleepaway camp. I'm always like, oh my God,
I haven't done that yet.
You make your own bed, you deal with the clothes, all of it. Although then it comes home in a bag and you're like, wait, what is this? Like,
that's true. That is why my kids need to go to sleepaway camp.
I do think
you learn hospital corners, how to make a bed. That's why I think I'm a good bed maker.
Oh, you do hospital corners?
Did you go to sleepaway camp?
Yeah. I hated it, but I went to like 8 camps.
No, but I think that underscores what we know about our children is like they will rise up to the expectations, to the label you give them. So if there's somewhere where the expectation is you make your bed every morning, you keep your things neat in your cubby, they'll do it. It's just not the expectation in their homes.
No, at my house, it's anarchy.
Right. Oh, you don't. I almost took a picture of my apartment this morning just for fun because it was
such a mess.
Beyond.
Yeah. Like her daughter has like a salon.
We have a head on a stand that was sprawled across the floor
because she does hair, like a hair mannequin.
So it was very freaky. It's freaky to look at when it's just staring at you. Yeah. It's freakier when it's laying dead on your carpet. Does she
practice hairstyles?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's got fake hands in her house. It's like a horror show.
I'm terrible at hair too. My girls would be like, "Can you do a French braid?" I'm like, no, I can barely do a ponytail.
Is that a Jewish woman thing? I cannot braid.
Send them to my house. Send them to my house. Eleanor can do anything.
You can't
it's
braid.
Insane.
Can you braid?
Yeah, I can do French braid.
My daughter wanted a fishtail braid.
Oh,
yeah. That is like fucking kill yourself.
I know.
It's just the reverse of a French braid.
Okay, whatever. I watched a YouTube video. I could try 8 times.
Eleanor
it's so hard.
Will do it for B. Yes.
It's like, it's not for, I don't have patience
even
for that.
My younger one used to be a gymnast and you have to wear your hair in a bun for the competition.
Same.
I would get there early and beg the coach.
I know, because it's like crinkles.
Like, Jamie, you can't put a bun. I'm like, no, I can't do it.
I think it's our hands. It's your hands can't do it. I don't know.
But she would like, I'd be like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
It's so true. And I'm good with my own hair. Thank you to the Dyson Airwrap, which
I know. I was going to say this is,
Dyson Airwrap's the new game changer.
You're going to have to teach me how to use the Dyson.
I'll teach you.
Okay. All right. Well, Jamie, thank you so much. This was such an amazing conversation. I learned so much. You completely broadened my perspective, and my thinking on this topic has definitely evolved.
Yep. And we hope a lot of eggs hatch from your office. And
thank you so much for having me. It was so fun. It was like a really fun conversation.
I'm so glad.
I hope we'll have you back.
We didn't ask you a lot of medical jargon, so it was probably good.
No, but it was like a very fluid, easy conversation. It was fun.
Well, thank you. You were easy to talk to, and congratulations to your new patient who just had a baby yesterday.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited for her. 9.5 pound baby.
Oh my God! Thank God she had a surrogate.
So
a big
cute.
one.
That's so chunky. Like I was like, look at those cheeks. Yeah.
And you did that. How cool is that?
That's the good. I say my job is sort of bipolar because like the highs are so high, but the lows are so low. And like, it's so hard sometimes to go from like so high with a patient, just so low with somebody else. And you're like,
you got to switch the gears.
Do you know how many babies you've helped bring into the world?
I don't. I feel like that would have been a cool thing to.
Yeah. How do you not keep track of that? People don't tell you. And
they do. I love holiday season because people will send me their baby, like their holiday cards, and I see their babies go from like babies to like now we're into like teenage years. So I do love that. But I don't think I've kept like a record of all the babies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Loved having you.
Thank you for
And
having
we'll
me.
put all your information in the show notes, and we'll put the link to buy the book, which I haven't finished yet, but is amazing. And with that,
I'm going to go eat an omelet, which is a little weird, but we're going to mic drop.
It makes sense.
It makes sense.
mic drop.